What's going on, Faithfuls? It's your boy Nick, nothing but Niners, joined by Anthony as always. Anthony's been joining us a lot more. But guys, we're going to talk some Niners tonight and a couple key things and such. But before we do that, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you set the bell for your notifications. Make sure you check us out on nothingbutniners.com. You can find all of our social media avenues there, all our platforms, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, all those good things. But check out nothingbutniners.com. You'll find all those things over there. Guys, we got a little bit to talk about tonight. And we can I'm probably going to also open the phone lines tonight, or if anybody wants to join on video for a little bit. So first, let's get that over with. But Anthony, what's going on, man?
How's it going, Nick? How's it going, guys? It's been good. Off season's moving steadily along. Lots of things to talk about. It's that time of the year where we got to find everything here and there, but everything is something to talk about, especially with the Niners, whether it's Antonio Brown, whether it's the Senior Bowl, whether it's what Lynch said. There's lots to discuss, and we have all that for you guys tonight. Should be a good show.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know where to start, man, because a lot of this stuff is intriguing to me. Let's just get it out of the way. Let's just talk about AB first. Let's just get that completely out of the way. Antonio Brown is trolling the hell out of the 49ers, whether it be with Jerry Rice, whether it be with, Terrell Owens, whether it be, players are just eyeballing him like, hey, come to the Bay, I don't know if it's just so much like I'm so used to being hurt as a Niners fan that I'm trying to hold myself back from this because obviously it's a trade. So it somewhat has to be dictated by Pittsburgh, right? Not only can he just say, hey, I want to go here. Not that he can't dictate where he wants to go because if we remember, Navarro Bowman, when he quit on us, there was a trade set in place to go to New Orleans. He said he didn't want to go there. John Lynch pulled it back. You said, would you rather us just release you, blah, 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 and did that. Antonio Brown could get that same kind of, I don't know, because they're kind of on better terms. But Antonio Brown seems like he really wants to come to San Francisco. Not Kyle Shanahan. Terrell Owens has talked about it. And even got Deion Sanders to troll him today. Say, yo, I'm looking for you in Dallas. But anyway, what's your thoughts on AB? And let's go from a 1 to 100% chance you think that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan make a move and actually finish that move and land Antonio Brown here in San Francisco?
I want to give it a solid 60 to 65%, and here's why. The pressure to get AB is building, and it's building a lot in this fan base. It's building a lot, I think, within the organization, too. I mean, we have guys like Kittle going along for the ride with it. I think Staley has, too. You see him active on Twitter regarding AB. And obviously, you see AB himself active with wanting to join the Niners, supposedly. And whether, like Nick said, it's a troll job or whether it's the real deal, it is huge. It is absolutely huge. Again, it could just be a huge troll job, and we've seen it happen before. It happens all the time in the NFL, I think. It just doesn't happen with guys like AB. But overall, I want to say 60 to 65% because the pressure on this team to do something is going to be huge. It's going to be absolutely tremendous for this team to make some kind of addition to show us as fans and to show the rest of the guys in that organization that, hey, we mean business. We're not going to be rebuilding for this third year in a row now. We're getting impatient with this. We have our quarterback set in place. We have our running back. We have our tight end. Let's go get the receiver. We have the offensive line that's set. We have the offensive line that's ready to perform. If they could do it with Mullins, they can do it with Garoppolo. So what's the best thing to do for your quarterback? Give him some weapons. We've seen guys go down the toilet like Aaron Rodgers, and he has to save his own team because he has no talent. He's had Devontae Adams, and that's it. And I don't want to see Jimmy G go down that path, even if he has Shanahan. So let's get AB. Let's get this guy who's going to take that offense to the next level because I love our receivers, but we don't have that number one guy to fear. And although Shanahan has said offenses don't need number one receivers to be successful, he has said that if there's a guy like Julio Jones available, for example, and I know AB is not Julio, but they are elite receivers. So if they're available and you have the assets to get him, go get him. I don't care if he's worth 20 million. I don't care if he's worth 30 million. You don't pass up on a guy like this. You don't pass up the opportunity to make this great of an addition to your team. Overall, this offense is great, but it needs to get to an elite level, and it can do that with AB. Without it, I think we're going to see the same problems come next season. All the pressure is going to be on Kittle if we don't add anyone, and it's going to be stuck on him, and we're going to be stuck with our receivers. I like them, but I don't think they can take us to that upper echelon of, offensive teams. And AB can do that. They need to do that. Forget all the other additions in free agency. This is a trade scenario. And like Nick said, I don't know if they'll honor AB's release just because he's AB. Navarro Bowman at that point on our team, I thought he was kind of washed, and he did quit on our team. And, it was kind of it at that point. But with AB, I think he had a more logical reason to quit on his team. And I know it's bad to quit on your team. I don't like saying that. But when you are AB and you don't think you're getting the respect you deserve, you have to take the matters into your own hands. And he's doing that exactly. Right now, AB is his own team, no matter what his teammates are saying. And it's amazing to me that what's going on with AB, it seems like Le'Veon Bell's forgotten about. AB got paid, but Bell and AB both aren't getting that respect. Bell wants the money, and he deserves it. AB wants respect from his coaching staff and from his quarterback, and he has every reason to be upset, and he's not getting it. And I think he can get that with the Niners. I think he can get that with an organization that's already budding with young talent, and bring in that veteran guy to say, hey, I want to be on this team, just like Sherman did. Sherman had every good reason to join this young team, and I think AB does too. And I think he sees the potential to join a team that will take him in and say, hey, I understand you might have your own issues, but we can deal with that. We know what you are, and we can make you as useful and as helpful as you deserve to be. So, yeah, bring him in. Bring him in, no doubt.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. But before I touch on what you said, I have a caller on the line. So, caller, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Can you guys hear him? All right. You're on with Nothing But Niners. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yo, what's up, guys? My name is Steven, and I definitely, thanks for having a platform, by the way. It's doing pretty good. I'll say it's probably the best as far as Niners go. So thank you, guys. And as far as, like, the whole situation with AB, I think that it's very attractive considering that we never really had a wide receiver, in the last, decade or so. So, I mean, probably longer. But either way, I think that it's just there's more of a chance of it being a worse decision to make rather than one of the best decisions you can make. The reason why is because with that second overall pick, there's a lot of things you could do with that second overall pick that's better than AB. I mean, what if Giants and Jaguars want to trade up to the number one? Because Cardinals don't necessarily want to take that number one. We don't know that for sure. Yeah, they could get Nick Bosa, but I mean, who's to say that they think that something's going to go on with the trading to get Haskins or anything like that? So not only that, but there's other people like Jalen Ramsey who would be way more beneficial, in my opinion. Imagine you want to get Jalen Ramsey and someone else, some other picks, because we only have 7, 5, something like that. So I think 5. But either way, it could be more picks if you just be patient with it. But also, I really feel like AB is the kind of guy that he just. I mean, after the whole Reuben Foster situation, not that he didn't do anything with that girl for the second time. But the reason why I think they cut him off the team is because they're just tired of all the nonsense, I think. But I really feel like AB could be at best. I think AB can make us a better offense. But at worst, I think he could be a major distraction and help us in another downfall year. But I definitely like the points that can go on with this kind of talk. But I really hope we don't get him. There's way more needs that we need on this team. Besides a star receiver, I mean, it's a star receiver that's going to be, 31 coming in next year, and at the price tag that he's going to ask for, I rather have way more needs to be there. Like, in my opinion, the pass rush, yeah, you can get it in free agency too. We need a pass rush. We need a safety, aka Earl Thomas. Could be that guy. There's just a lot of things that you could use for these picks. And my gosh, we have so little picks and so many positions we need to fill up. So I would advertise, don't get AB because he's just another name with money that hell no, I don't want AB. But I like you guys' decision on this stuff as far as like what you guys are saying. So not too bad.
Sweet. So what we'll do is I'm going to hang up with you. I'm going to take another call, and then we're going to talk about your points and answer the questions that you had and rebuttal on what you had to say.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for calling in, bud. Appreciate it. And give us a call back again anytime. This is Nick with Nothing But Niners. You're alive. Hello, you there? All right. Looks like we lost that last caller. He had a lot of good points. His points were, and he's worried about not having enough picks because we need to replace other certain positions. Ryan, I see you're calling. Just let me finish this, and then I'll call you right back, Ryan. And then, he had a lot of good points on that. And what hit me the most is yes, a lot of people are saying, well, AB's too high, you're giving up a second rounder, which is really a 36th pick. I seen a guys talking in the room about a 33rd. It's really a 36th pick. So yes, it's a low first rounder pretty much. I mean, you're only 4 picks into the second round. Is it a high pick? Yes. Is he going to be 31 years old going in? Yes. But the amount of money that we would owe him is $28 million over 3 years. That's $9 million a year to finish out his contract. Where are you getting an Antonio Brown type receiver for 3 years for $9 million a year? I think that's what it is. I think it's $28 million over the 3 years that we would owe him after the contract. If they cut him prior, I think it's prior to June 1st. I'd have to look it up again, so don't quote me on those numbers. But that's what I'm just. But all this is really going to come down to free agency, in my opinion. And I'm going to let Anthony touch on it real quick, and Tony's in here as well now, so I'll let him touch on it as well right after this. But Anthony, you just said that it's not too much, that do whatever we can to go get him. You put it at a 60% rate, correct?
Yeah, 60
okay.
65, I think.
All right, so 65% that there's a chance that we get him. I'm going to put it at that kind of number too. I might go to a 70%, but it depends on free agency. If we can land a top-notch receiver or edge rusher in free agency, that number 2 pick overall becomes more flexible. If we can trade out and pick up another second-round pick and drop down to 7 to where we can still get a Polite, a Burns, even maybe a Farrell in that terms, I'm okay with that. You draft a young prospect. You got a good veteran presence in free agency. And then you get an additional second-round pick and more that you can use as leverage to get Antonio Brown. It's only common sense. So let me take this call real quick. Someone's calling in real quick, and then we'll touch base on that. Thanks for calling Nothing But Niners. You're live. I'm on the air. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
What's going on, Nick? What's going on, Ant? This is your boy, Niner by Nature, 88, all day, every day.
What's up, Niner? Nice to hear nice to hear your voice for once.
Oh yeah, most definitely, all day, every day, man. I had to just come in and let y'all know, but I'm passionate about my Niners. You know what I mean? the last caller, you know what I'm saying? I understand where he's coming from. You feel me? But getting AB, that's like one time in a lifetime you can get a player like that. You know what I mean? So you've got to get a player like that. And they talking about getting up our first round pick for this year. No way, no sir. Because July 1st or June 1st, actually, you know, that's when the 21 million come off the books. They go down to 7 million.
Right.
So that's going to hit the Steelers books a lot less than where we hit it right now. So there'll be more, you know, advantageous to give up him. You know what I mean? So I think that overall, the Steelers are going to give up AB. And then at the same time, if they want to give him up to any other team, say like the Cardinals or somebody who's going to be less competitive, he has the right to say, nah, I don't want to play there. You feel me? I don't want to play there. I'm going to sit out. You can threaten sitting out to any team. Be like, I'm not playing there. I'm going to sit out. And then if that comes, you know, if that comes to surface, no team will want to play. No team will want to, you know what I'm saying, give any draft pick for that dude. You know what I mean? So they're gonna bag that. They're gonna be like, you know what, I'm not doing this. And then for the fun, because you know what I'm saying, for the 49ers to come in, give them like the second round pick next year, or even a 2020 first round. You know what I'm saying? They need that. But in 2020, even this year, I think we're gonna be, you know what I'm saying, we're gonna be good. We're gonna be like we should at least go 11-6, you know, 10-6, 11-5, whatnot. We'll be all good. But for this second round pick, I'm telling you, Nick, I really believe we're gonna get out of Bosa or Quentin Williams. And me thinking about Quentin Williams next to DeForest Buckner, that's going to be something crazy. I mean, they already have the Senior Bowl or Shrine Bowl. We said, well, how do you pronounce that? Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl, whatever it is. And they're already there, sitting there, looking at these edge rushers right now, who's performing. And they already know how Bosa and Quentin Williams going to perform. But I'm telling you, Quentin Williams next to DeForest Buckner is going to be outrageous. Outrageous. The pocket is not going to be safe for anybody. So, I'm telling you, man, Quentin Williams is not out of the question when it comes to drafting him as the second overall pick. And people keep saying we claim to draft another guy within 3 to 4 years straight to draft DT. It doesn't matter, man. He's the best pick on the board. He's the best pick on the board, no matter what. And I feel that Quentin Williams is going to be the best pick on the board if Bosa doesn't go first. And I think he's gonna wreck shit, to my language, but he's gonna wreck stuff, you know, on our defensive line with DeForest Buckner, including, you know, Katavius Street. Then you have another pass we can get in the second round, and then our offense is gonna be killing because we got McKinnon coming back, Garoppolo already passed to McKinnon already. Again, you know what I'm saying? They're healthy. They're ready to go, you know, right now. Then you got, you know, his AD come over. You got Goodwin and Pettis and Kittle. I mean, our offense is going to be silly. Our defense is going to be ready to go. We're young. I'm not stressing over this year. We have, I'm not stressing over the year we're going to have next year. We're a young defense. We're a young team, and we're going to make this thing happen. So, you know, overall, I think everything is going to work out for the best, you know, and our setbacks is always set for our comeback. So, you know, we had a setback this year, but it's only a set for our comeback to have this year's coming up. So everything will work out for the best. I'm optimistic. I'm positive for the season. You know, John Lynch, I have faith and confidence in John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. Everything gonna work out, man. I'm just ready I got that, Niner by Nature 88 title on my chest all day, every day, representing. Oh, you know what I'm saying? I'm a 9 till I die. You know what I'm saying? I bleed red and gold till I'm bitter cold. And, that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? Niner by Nature, NBN till the day I die, baby.
Hey, Niner, I appreciate it, man. I just got one question for you, and we'll talk about the stuff that you said. But do you have faith in Robert Saleh yet?
You breaking up though, bro.
Do you have faith in Robert Saleh yet? All right, good.
Bro.
All right, I'll talk to you. Sorry about that. I couldn't hear him. So, Tony, what's going on, man?
What's up, Nick?
Aren't you at work, man?
No, I'm driving home.
Oh, you're driving home? Well, you better be careful. Ryan, I'll get you in next call, but I want to talk about what Niner by Nature. Thanks for calling in, Niner. I was asking, I'm going to pull up the chat again in a second because I'm using my phone, so I have to pull it up on the computer. But my Chrome's not coming up. Anthony, what do you or Tony, what do you think about what Niner by Nature said?
I heard him go in and out. I was kind of breaking up on my end, Nick.
Okay. All right, well, that's fine. Anthony, did you hear what he was saying?
Yeah, I caught most of it, and he's right. I think bringing in AB would elevate this offense immensely. And a point I want to bring up, too, is that I think it matters too much if AB comes in and we trade him for next year's first. And I want to argue why. A lot of this team is based on the talent we have now, and I think we've had 2 years to rebuild and 2 years to add, and we've seen what Shanahan and Saleh and these guys can do with the late round picks. And I think over the past couple of years, I think there's been a trend where these playoff teams or these playoff contending teams are trading their first round picks. For example, the Saints traded their first to the Packers to move up and take Davenport. And look where that first round pick is. It's a 28th pick, 29th pick. And I think if the Niners have a lot of confidence that their team is going to contend, I think they'd be willing to throw out next year's first. And I think a lot of people just covet first round picks way too much because, hell, it's a first round pick, and I don't really like trading them either. But I think that if the price is there and the Steelers aren't going to release AB, and they're just going to let AB sit the whole time, you got to make some kind of move. And if it's true that AB wants to join this team, bring him on in. There's no way they should touch the second overall pick. No way. But I also want to bring the point in what Nick said, too, is that it all depends on free agency, and it could even depend on draft day. But if we decide to move the second rounder we have now for AB, do it. Also, if we decide to make a draft day trade for AB where we do trade back from the second overall pick and we use those extra picks we get to take him, do that too. There's a lot of options and there's a lot of abilities in which we can go about AB. And I think they should totally do it. But what Niners said, though, at the same time is the Quinnen and Bosa hype is building up for the Niners is real. And I think they should take BPA over needs. Because I think if it happens, needs can be addressed in free agency. We've seen how deep the edge is in this class. Edge can be addressed late in the first round, early in the second round, depending on what we do. But if it comes down to it between Bosa and Quinnen, I want one or the other. I'm taking the BPA. Whether that is Bosa, whether that is Quinnen, and he'd be great with DeForest. But overall, like we've been saying, there's a whole lot of options to go about bringing in AB. And I think if they can do it without even trading back or touching that second overall, you absolutely go for AB. So I agree with Niner. You do what it takes to bring in AB. He's a whole other level of receiver, and he's a top 5 receiver, no doubt. It wasn't just Ben that made him great. It was him that made him great.
Yeah,
him in this offense would make him phenomenal. So go for it. Absolutely.
AB in a Kyle Shanahan system will destroy the league. We're not talking about, and no pun intended or no bad talk about any of these other receivers, but we're not talking about Golden Tates or Dante Moncriefs or Martavius Bryant's. We're talking about Antonio Brown. Like, this guy wants out of Pittsburgh because of the fact the way there's so much respect for Ben Roethlisberger and nobody else, right? You know, that's pretty much how Pittsburgh works. You've seen it with Le'Veon Bell. why is this guy not going to want to? If he wants to come here, which he has basically pretty much said that he wants to, why do you not think he's going to try to prove everybody wrong about how well he can act in an organization, how his numbers can put up? If I was a receiver in the NFL right now, I'm trying to get in on a team with Kyle Shanahan coaching the offense. I mean, I just am. And I'm totally in agreement with Niner by nature. If there's so, like you said, Anthony, there's so many loopholes. There's so many different things that can go on. I really think Quinnen Williams goes number 1. I really do. Arizona needs interior guys. They're changing to a 3-4, right?
I agree with you, Nick.
Changing to a 3-4. If Quinnen Williams is there, if Bosa goes first, Quinnen Williams there, I'm taking Quinnen Williams. There's no – I'm not taking Josh Allen. I'm not taking Polite or Burns or Farrell. I'm probably taking Quinnen Williams because he is the next best player available. Now, if you come to me as a 6 or 7 team, who's the 7 team? Giants? Giants or Jags are 7, right? If you come to me and say, I'll give you our 7th round pick plus a second plus a third, or no, yeah, a second for this year, a third this year, and a second next year for that number 2 pick, I'm taking that. Because I'm going to have an additional 2nd round pick. I already pick pretty high up in the thing. Depending on what we get in free agency, and all that depends. I'm trading out of that pick if a Quinnen Williams or a Nick Bosa is still there. If we got a top-notch draft, top-notch edge guy in free agency, because that's our number 1 need right now. If I can get more picks to replenish our young core group of guys, as well as use picks to trade for Antonio Brown, I'm doing it. That's just my opinion. That's if we can get, and a ton can happen. A DeMarcus Lawrence, a D Ford, a Jadeveon Clowney. If we can get any of those 3 guys right there, I will easily trade out of that 2nd round, that number 2 overall pick, get all the picks that I possibly can, because I can get another late edge rusher somewhere at 6 or 7, and still use the another 2nd rounder and maybe even a 2nd and a 3rd to get Antonio Brown for the next 3 years. John Lynch has 3 years left on his contract. Finish it out. Get extended. I'm doing everything that I possibly can. I think it all starts in free agency. Land the number 1 guy you want in free agency off the edge, and it all falls in place. Tony, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I hear you.
What are your thoughts?
All right, this is the number 1 thing. There's 3 things that need to happen for us to really go forward with coming up with a plan. Number 1, in February is the franchise tag deadline. That's number 1, to see who's available for free agency. Number 2, free agency. You have to see who you can add through free agency and who will be available. And then number 3 is your draft. And I tend to agree with you. I honestly think Quinnen Williams is going to go number 1, especially with Arizona switching to a 34 front. They have Chandler Jones. He's still, I think, maybe 29, 28 years old. He produced last year at a pretty high level. Double-digit sacks again, I think, for 3 straight years. No major injury concerns with him. So he's going to be back next year, and he will be standing up rather than putting his hand in the ground. As far as the AB thing, listen, you have an opportunity to add a dynamic weapon like that, a guy who sat out, I think, the last 2 games, still managed to produce 15 touchdowns last year and over 1,200 yards. You gotta add something like that. As far as the locker room, I think we're strong enough inside this locker room to control them if things get crazy. But then again, in my honest opinion, I think he's doing whatever the hell he needs to do, and that means acting and deleting people off social media, making pictures with Jerry Rice, changing his uniform to the Niners. He wants out of Pittsburgh, and he wants to go, obviously, to the 49ers. But my one thing is I do not want to see us overpay for him. He's going to be 31. He's still producing at a pretty high level. Reasonable contract. We do have ample cap space to fit him. But I mean, let's look at some of the compensations that's been going around for trades with wide receivers. Dallas gave up a number 1 for Cooper. Okay, I think Antonio Brown is better than Cooper. I think we can pretty much all agree on it. The only thing against him is his age. Cooper's younger, so that's why maybe it required a 1. But I want to take this back maybe 10 years ago when the 49ers traded, maybe it was longer, I don't know. The 49ers traded Terrell Owens for a 4th-round pick to Philadelphia and Brandon freaking Whiting. Go ahead, everybody, say who? Yeah, Brandon Whiting, a defensive end that couldn't even get in the damn rotation. So, do I think we can get Brown for that type of deal? No, but I would be cautious on the compensation to get him here. And the bad thing that we're facing against us, as far as compensation, you have a couple teams out there with multiple first-round picks. And you might get a team that might overpay. And I just hope John Lynch, Martin Mayhew, Adam Peters, Shanahan, the organization is smart about this. Now, the dilemma with our draft. Like I said before, I think Quentin Williams is probably going to go number 1 unless there's a big trade offer for a team to come up for Bosa or a quarterback or whatever. We're still kind of far out. We're still very early in this process. So as it gets closer, I think we'll be able to come up and get a more detailed, accurate plan, hopefully, as we get closer to it. But now what happens if Nick Bosa is sitting there at 2? Do we pull the trigger on Nick Bosa? I know it's all pending free agency. Or do we trade back? Again, it's all pending free agency. But do you guys feel he's a lock right there at number 2? You take him and still sign a free agent? What do you guys think?
All right, I'll answer that real quick, and then I'll let Anthony answer that. Sorry, I muted you, Tony, so you didn't have to do it. I think that number 2 pick, if Bosa is still there, becomes that much more valuable. And like I said, it all really depends on free agency, because I think if we can get, like you said, if we can get a good edge rusher in free agency, I'm okay with taking a Farrell or a Burns or a Polite at 6 or 7, because I think we can get them there. We can get one of those 3 guys at 6 or 7 if we can trade down. If somebody wants to move up for Bosa, you could have somebody move up from 4 or 5 just to draft Bosa. And like I said, if we don't land a good free agent defensive end or pure edge rusher, then you have to take Bosa. You have to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But if we can land somebody that has good 3 years left on their contract, then and get more picks, I think you have to go with that. That's my opinion. Anthony, what do you think?
Yeah, I've said it previously, but I think if the ability is there to get Bosa after we make a signing, I think you take Bosa. I like our rotational edge guys, but again, they're rotational. I want 3 down guys. I want guys like Bosa and Lawrence and Clowney if he's available, and those kind of guys. I don't think this team needs just 1 edge. I definitely think this team needs 2. And if you can go after Bosa and you can get like I said, a Lawrence or a Clowney or a Ford, whoever it is that you want in your scheme, I think you absolutely go for it. And just because you do take a Bosa or hell, you do take a Quinnen doesn't mean the door closes on AB, and there's still a whole lot of options to go about everything. But I think the edge thing on this team needs to be addressed immensely. We've seen a lot of the most successful teams produce at the highest level with good quality edge rushers. And you've seen the Chiefs with Justin Houston and Dee Ford. They overperform like crazy. And sure, they had Chris Jones, but you still have 2 quality edge guys on both sides to really add the pressure. And granted, they didn't really do a phenomenal job against Tom Brady. After all, it's Brady. But if you saw how they performed throughout the whole season, the whole story was D Ford, Justin Houston, Chris Jones, those guys, those big names. And I think if we add those kind of pieces to our offense, we already have Defoe. Let's go get Bosa. Let's go get Lawrence, those guys, if they come available. And I'm all for it. This team needs to add that edge pressure. And I'm okay if they do just go Bosa. But like Nick says, this whole edge class is deep. It is absolutely deep. There's guys like Farrell and even Dexter Lawrence and Polite and Burns and Sweat and Allen and the list goes on. And even Jalen Ferguson. These guys' names are out there in the first and second round. So Bosa is the number one option, but the door is open for the Niners to address the edge situation in whatever way they want. And drafting a guy would be nice, but adding a guy in free agency would be even nicer, in my opinion. And they need two. They need to go for two. One is nice, but I think the whole thing that'll bring it all together for the front four is to add two pieces, not just one. I'm tired of seeing Cassius Marsh high kicks. I'm tired of seeing that. I like the guy, but he's not a double-digit sack producer. D Ford, Dexter Lawrence, Clowney, those guys can do it. Nick Bosa can do it. I bet Sweat can do it. Allen can do it. Quinnen Williams can do it. I want double-digit sack guys. And, Buckner was doing it while getting double-teamed all season. Why? Because he was the only feared guy on that D-line. So let's get more guys to add to this D-line that you can say, holy shit, we fear them. We need to game plan around these guys because the Niners don't have that. You don't need to game plan around Buckner. You don't need to game plan around Marsh or Eric Armstead. And I love the guys, but those aren't really passing situation guys. And Marsh, it's so 50-50 with him. Like I said, this team needs guys to impose their will on offensive lines and on quarterbacks. And I just got to make it clear, one would be nice, but two is what we need. We need two. That's my point.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And Tony, I'll get right back to you. I definitely agree that we need two, but all I was trying to say was that pick becomes that much more valuable if a Nick Bosa is there. You can still get a good second edge rusher, not named Nick Bosa, if you trade that pick and trade down. You can get a Montez, a Sweat, a Polite, a Burns, a Farrell, and Sweat has been showing out at the Senior Bowl with our coaches. So that even shows even more. And we're going to talk about that discussion tonight. But I definitely agree with you that we need to free agent edge and a draft edge in the first round. And I just think that pick becomes, if Bosa and Quinnen Williams are gone, that pick becomes less valuable than what it would be if Bosa was there. Or Quinnen Williams. So I still think you can get quality edge outside of Bosa and outside of Bosa, and you can still get quality players outside of Quinnen Williams. So Tony, go ahead and touch on your talk, and then I'm gonna put me on mute.
I honestly think if Bosa is sitting there, like you just said, Nick, if he's sitting there at 2, you could get a king's ransom for him. Because according to everybody, he is the top number one prospect in this draft. As far as like building and adding, I agree with that. But let's think logically now. As far as I agree with adding multiple pieces to this defensive line as far as edge rushers. But let's say we do pull the trigger on a trade for Antonio Brown. Let's say we send the number 1 next year, and like we get, another pick in return plus Antonio Brown back. My thing is the cap now. Now the cap is going to be, a lot of cap space is going to be eaten up. You're going to have Antonio Brown's salary. You draft Bosa. Okay, he's going to have a pretty decent salary. Now you want to go out and sign like an Earl Thomas on the back end. Then you want to add another edge guy. We have to be careful as far as like spending that type of money. I'm not saying we're not going to be aggressive. I think we will be 100% aggressive. But I think if we do add Bosa, I think we drop down a tier as far as an edge rusher in free agency to, not blow all our money. Listen, Parag Marate is a genius. He can come up with something to make it work and still add more pieces. But I just feel that at 2, if Bosa's sitting there, I mean, I don't know. There's no guarantee, and like Anthony said, teams are trading. Teams are giving up their ones to add people to their roster. So I mean, you got to look at it both ends. But again, like I said earlier, it is way too early to start figuring out a plan for this. I love talking about it. We can sit here and talk about it every day of the week if you guys want. And it's just so tough because no one knows like a definitive answer on free agency, where they're going to rank in drafts and stuff like that. So I mean, if Bosa's there, I guess we're going to take that. I think we will take Bosa. I think we will add a mid-tier free agent edge rusher. And I think, honestly, if Eric Armstead roster spot is in jeopardy. We have guys coming off injury, Kentavious Street. You have Julian Taylor. You have these young guys that are just waiting in the wings. I can't see Eric Armstead coming back at a $9 million cap spot. I can't. If you want to make these types of moves and add these types of players, Eric Armstead is going to have to take a pay cut, or his salary is going to have to be taken off this cap. We can't keep Eric Armstead as a part-time player with that type of cap number.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. But all right, there we go. All right, I'm gonna call Ryan real quick. We're gonna talk to Ryan about his thoughts on AB, and then we're gonna move on off the AB talk and move on to the next segment of the show because we could stay here all night long and talk about AB. So give me 1 second. Anthony, just rebuttal on what Tony said real quick while I give Ryan a call.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Tony. You know, it's one thing to think about how great AB of an addition would be, but it's another thing to think about the salary cap and the cap hit he's gonna add to the team. And like you said, I love Armstead, but at a $9 million cap hit for a rotational guy who's good on run defense, not so good on pass defense, I don't know if you pay $9 million for that. Maybe you do if you really covet that in your defense, but to be able to let go of $9 million like that and let that be allocated to a guy like Earl Thomas or DeMarcus Lawrence, you know, those kind of things is just something you have to think about. And look at Antonio Brown; he's going to bring on a 10 million plus cap hit. And I would argue that I don't mind having to add that big of a hit for a guy like Brown, but you have to look at what that does for the rest of the team and how that affects the team also. It's huge to have to add such a cap hit like that, but the team is open to reducing the amount of cap hits from other players like Armstead and like how they released Earl Mitchell and things of that nature is something to really consider. And it's just, I love Armstead. I love those kind of guys, Jimmy Ward, but God, their roster spots are up there, and I'm tired of seeing the Ward injuries. And I love Armstead, but at $9 million for a rotational guy, it's so much to have to think about, and the Niners have a good amount of cap space. Maybe they want to rework that with Armstead, and maybe they want to rework it with Ward. But with the way free agency is looking, these pieces are there to add for the defense and in the draft too. I mean, there's lots of guys in this draft, I think, who can replace Armstead at big end. There's lots of guys who can replace Ward at free safety in that nickel slot corner role even. It's like the draft is just as loaded as free agency, in my opinion. And there's going to be lots of directions in which the Niners are going to go about it. But like Tony said, it all starts with the cap space for this team. Cap space goes up and it goes down quickly, and it all depends on the additions and cuts they make. And overall, it's going to be huge for the team. It's going to be huge depending on the way in which they want to go. How's it looking, Nick?
I just want to touch on one thing. I don't think this team's done making moves as far as subtracting salaries and contracts from this roster. And let's say they do get rid of an Armstead that frees up $9 because it's only guaranteed for injury in which he's not injured. and then you get rid of a Garcon where you already freed up $4 million with Mitchell. Listen, it could be an even wash. You bring on friggin' Antonio Bryant, it's an even wash, and you still have $70 million to spend. So they got to be tactical on how they go about doing this. But I will say this: I did watch the Senior Bowl practices yesterday for a little bit. Man, Kyle Shanahan was like googly eyes over Deebo Samuels. I think Kyle Shannon's in love with him, and I think Saleh has the thing for Sweat. But listen, it is what it is. It's early in the process. Like I said, they still have to do the combine. But there's a lot of options for us. We're in a really good position. And, Nick, let's get that caller. I'll stop talking.
All right. Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely agree with everything Anthony said. And Tony, yes, I definitely agree with you that Kyle Shanahan had googly eyes for Samuels and that Robert Saleh has a draft crush on Sweat as well. And we're going to talk about some of the things that Saleh had to say at Senior Bowl, as well as Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. But first, we got Kix on the line. Kix, what's going on, man?
What's cracking, NBN?
Can you guys hear him? Okay. All right. So, Kix,
y'all,
give us a breakdown real quick of what you think about what the Niners should do, draft wise, if they get a free agent. You've heard what we've been talking about, so kind of just on the same terms of what we've been talking about, and what a percentage is to land AB, if you even want AB, and if you don't want AB. So let us know. Break it down for us.
Okay, well, I feel like a lot of the in-depth stuff got touched on already as far as like where we could go draft-wise and everything like that. I just feel like the one thing didn't get touched on enough, to me, it's like the biggest concern is the off the field issues, and honestly on the field too, on the sideline and everything like that. I think it's the same concern that a lot of Niner fans had when we were bringing Sherman over, because he was one of those guys that when things started to go south there in Seattle, he started to bark on the sideline, cause some divide in the team and everything like that. And so that's the type of thing that I don't think is being talked about enough for us, because I feel like over the last 2 years, Shane and Lynch have been building this very team-oriented and like fight for each other type, bond in that locker room. And if you bring a guy over that has this selfish, it's all about me, I'm willing to sit down if I'm not getting the ball enough type nature about him, you could kind of break some of their work up and, cause diversity on the sideline. And then we're just having a year like we had this year where it's nothing but disappointment and everything like that. But I also, on the flip side of it, do see the upside of AP. I'm obviously not blind to the fact that bringing somebody of that talent level over could be insane in Shanahan's system. And not only that, I think it would push a lot of the other receivers, both in his veteran presence, being able to help them with some things as long as he is kind of how Sherm was and can coach the receivers from the sideline and not get frustrated if things aren't working, to the level of which he saw it. He's just going to have patience with the team as well, because it is a young team. It's still rebuilding. But I guess I see both sides of it. I just am really concerned with the selfish nature of him. I saw someone in Scott release something like Jalen Ramsey, and I have the same concern for him. I feel like bringing somebody over like that who has already made a habit of making everything about him kind of concerns me for this team, because it doesn't seem like that's the attitude that the coach and the GM are looking for. But I don't want to get too deep into the free agency and the draft stuff, because I feel like y'all touched on all that and stuff, and I'm really hungry. So I'm going to get some Chipotle, but that's the only way that with AB for me is his attitude. But if he truly wants to play over here, which it sounds like, if none of that is trolling and he genuinely wants to play with these guys, then there's nothing for me to be concerned about. He should come over and be productive in our system,
Yeah. No, I like all the touches that you've been. Richard Sherman definitely did pan out with us. A lot of people were worried about, though. I think it's the leadership presence that you have from your ownership and your coaches that make players the way that they are.
Right.
So I think that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch definitely run a tight ship, and I think that I think it's business and fun at the same time. But I see your concerns in there as well. Hey, man, so I hear, and I've been hearing a lot of your music too, so I'm going to give you a shout-out for that real quick. If you want to tell anybody where they can find you or where to look out for you, because Ryan, believe it or not, is a hell of a rapper. He's been spitting some crazy bars, so Make sure that you check him out if he has that stuff live on his YouTube channel. Ryan, if you want to give where people can follow you at and stuff like that, go for it.
Yeah, so my Twitter is just RyanZmusic_. I don't have anything public right now. I want to get everything polished out and perfected before I get anything public, but I have no problem sharing links and getting feedback from everybody. I like all different types of opinions. I'm very new to it, but I really enjoy doing it, so I appreciate the shout out on that.
Yeah, definitely, guys. Make sure that you give him a follow on Twitter and check out that music channel, because I'm telling you, man, keep your ears peeled. Keep them back, man, because Ryan's coming at you somewhere. So, Ryan, once again, I appreciate the phone call, man, as always, man, and the support as well. So, thanks for calling in. And go get all that double everything from Chipotle and spend the $20.
You know it, double chicken, double guac, double lettuce. I'm going to kill it.
And enjoy it all, man. And I'll holler at you later.
Yeah, go Niners. Peace out again. Love y'all.
All right. All right, guys. So that's Ryan chilling. Kicks known as on YouTube. So make sure you check out his stuff, like I said. Guys, it seems like we're all the same synopsis as everybody pretty much wants Antonio Brown. It's just a matter of the season being, the offseason being so young and not knowing what it's going to cost us or what's going to pan out in free agency, what's going to pan out in the draft. But it's fun to talk about. It's fun to envision Antonio Brown in a number 84 jersey in the red and gold, working out with Jerry Rice, getting the blessings of T.O. and Jerry Rice. It's fun. It's fun to mess around with. It could not happen. It could happen. So we'll see as the season goes on. All right, let's jump into some other things that we want to talk about here real quick. And I got a couple clips here that I want to play. And let's talk about Kyle Shanahan first. And Kyle Shanahan was on Sirius XM radio, and he was talking about Jimmy Garoppolo and his comeback. And I'll just let him explain what he was talking about, and then we're gonna discuss that here on NBN. So give me 1 second. Make sure you guys can hear this.
When are you hoping he's able to really get into full swing? Cal, can you give us an update on Jimmy Garoppolo? When are you hoping he's able to really get into full swing with your off-season program?
I'm hoping that he's ready to at least be throwing and stuff by OTAs. I mean, I know he's throwing now and everything. It's a little different with the quarterback where we could get him involved in 7-on-7 and things like that. So I expect him to have him in OTAs. We'll see if that works out. But if not, we'll have him there for training camp.
Kyle, 2018, a rough year, largely because of injuries, quite honestly. What do you look back on, though, and say, we have made progress in building this team toward where we want it to ultimately be?
Oh, we knew the challenge before we got here, and we knew it was going to take some time. I think we made some progress a little quicker than we anticipated in our first year, and made some excitement going into the second year. I mean, you said it. We started off early on with some tough injuries, but that opened up some opportunities for some young guys to play, some guys who weren't expecting to, and to battle with those guys throughout the year. There were some ups and downs, but a lot of them are better for it. And when you take that into next year, going 2 years in a row where we played young guys, all those guys are better. We got backups who are better, competing with our starters, and we're going to add guys in free agency. We're going to add guys in the draft, and hopefully we'll get those guys back who are healthy. And it's a very fine line in each game between winning and losing, and I expect us to be right in the thick of things next year.
All right, so a couple key points there. He was talking about Jimmy Garoppolo coming back. He's talking about the depth that we have on the team and the experience level that they've gotten. How he knew that he said we, meaning him and the front office and coaches and stuff like that, knew that it was going to take some time. And he was talking about how the depth has gained, people didn't expect certain people to play. We're talking Nick Mullins. We're talking DJ Reed. We're talking Antoine Exum. I'm trying to think of some other people. Moore, Breida, Jeff Wilson Jr., CJ Beathard. But players that we weren't expecting to play this year who actually got an ample opportunity to play this year, which boosted them to be out there year one, going into year two. And I just find it interesting that he said that, because he said the last key words that I took about that right there. I expect us to be in the thick of things next year, right in the thick of things. Tony, what was your outtake on what Kyle Shanahan was saying?
I think, excuse me, I think Kyle knows the ability of this team once it's at full strength. He has expectation. He knows that he saw what Jimmy could do. He knows what McKinnon could offer. And listen, he sees like what McVay does there in St. Louis. McVay worked under Shanahan, so he sees the tools that McVay was able to add, and he's projecting, I guess, in his head, this is what I'm going to be able to do. And I mean, he knows the system. It's his system. McVay runs his system. So I honestly think, Kyle, that this team has something up their sleeve that they're going to make a huge move. And God willing, everyone remains healthy, especially Garoppolo. This team's going to turn some heads next year. But I definitely think he knows. He knows, Nick. That's all I'm going to say. He knows the ability of this team. And especially when Seattle beat the Niners beat Seattle at home. And Sherman, like, that whole thing pulled that team together. It might have lit a flame under their ass, and it gave them confidence. And you start adding pieces to that. Everyone gets on that same page. Watch out, NFC.
Yeah, definitely. Anthony, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, he definitely hits it when he says they're going to be in the thick of things. And Tony hit it best. I mean, all I got to say about it is once we get our quarterback, once we hopefully get our receiver or, whatever it is we add on offense, this team is going to be a top 10 offense. And then you look at the defense. If we add an Earl Thomas, if we add an edge, if we add a Sean Lee, if we add those kind of guys to this defense that needs a good influx of veteran talent, it's a top 10 defense. This team could be top 10 at both ends, and I honestly believe that. Where's all the hate Saleh got at the beginning of last year and the beginning of this year? Look at the turnaround that happened, and look at another example. Look at what the offense could do with Nick Mullins, and he's like a denomination of Jimmy Garoppolo, in my opinion. I mean, everything is there. He's just a lesser Garoppolo, and so imagine this offense once Jimmy G is healthy, once Jed is healthy, and God willing, the team stays healthy. But if they do, holy hell, this team is top 10 on both ends of the ball. And you could look at what this team did with the amount of turnovers they had on offense and the amount of turnovers they had on defense. There's too many on offense and too little on defense. And look how they performed. The offense was on the field so little, but they could do so much, even with, a handful of guys that aren't really the best. And then same on defense. Look at what Saleh was able to do with, no Colbert and, no edge guys. Foster was missing. The linebackers were gone. The safety was gone. All the different safety combinations, Look at where this team was with what we had. And Shanahan also said it too. A lot of guys got the chance to play who were probably going to be depth pieces or just practice squad guys. And it's amazing how they performed, and it's amazing how the coaching turned out with what we had. And so imagine this team healthy. Imagine this team with better additions and better pieces that will just help complete the puzzle. And this team is going to turn a lot of heads. I think that the idea that this team, before all the injuries, was a dark horse playoff contender is there. But you look at how the team played throughout the season with all the injuries, and you look at how the coaching staff performed, I think, and this might be a bold take to you guys, but I think this team honestly isn't a dark horse contender, but they are a real playoff contender. And I see that. I don't see Seattle moving up. I think they just got caught in a crappy NFC division, especially being in the West, and especially with the rest of the NFC not being, the best. And we see how Arizona is, and you look at how the Niners can match up against the Rams and how they can match up against Seattle. And I mean, we beat Seattle with what? We beat them with, little peas and corn. We didn't have much to serve. So imagine being able to serve Seattle with a healthy team. Imagine being able to serve the Rams with a healthy team. And the Rams look good, but they have a lot of guys they need to re-sign. And if they don't, the Rams are beatable. Bottom line is the Rams are beatable. I don't know where the idea is that they aren't, but I think they are. And they are beatable with that guy right there, Jimmy G. Once he comes back healthy, it's going to be amazing. And like Shannon said, it's a lot different to have to move around after an ACL injury once OTAs come. But I think he expects him to be healthy, and we all expect him to be healthy too. And once that team is healthy on offense and once they're healthy on defense, it's top 10 on both sides. And the Niners, I'm not just saying this because I'm a Niners fan, but from an outside perspective too, I think this team has a real chance at being legitimate playoff contenders. The pieces are there. The performance was there with backup guys. So imagine the performance with real starting guys. It's going to happen. And being able to put in those backup guys in the starting role only increases the better depth we have on this team. So again, imagine the pieces we're going to add. Imagine the guys we're getting back healthy. And this team is top 10 on both sides of the ball. It's there. The playoffs are there. And we are in the thick, no doubt.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Guys, if you guys want to touch, before we move on to our next segment part, if you guys want to touch on anything that Kyle Lynch said, I give you guys a 2-minute mark. If you want to give us a call, 628-888-3443. Go ahead and give us a call. If not, we're going to move on to the next portion of the show. So just let me know. Also, I seen Jonathan Rosa was in here. If you want to join on the show, let me know. We'll get you in here. So I'll give the phone a couple minutes to go off, and if not, then we'll move on. Tony, if you look at you all in your cop uniform, protecting the law.
What's up, buddy?
Look, you got the Niners ring on. Sorry. Guys, while I got this little break, look, I got our new hoodies on, so you can check those things out. The lighting's kind of bad. Let's see if I can turn it down a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. How's that? The new hoodies are out. If Tony would stop making noise, then the camera would stop going on them. The new hoodies are out. Check them out. You can get those. Just send me a message. And they have Fearless on the back. So if you're interested, I should have just grabbed one because I have an extra one here. If you wanted to check one of those out. But all right. Well, it doesn't look like anybody else wants to touch base on what we were saying about Kyle Shanahan. So I'm going to move on to the next segment. And that goes into what Tony was talking about. I have another clip here that I want to play. And it is on Tom Pelissero put up a video with talking to Robert Saleh. So it's like a little bit over a minute talk. And he was talking about how does it feel basically to be coaching at the Senior Bowl. And we'll touch base on that, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. So here's the clip right here.
Coordinator Robert Saleh here with 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh. What's your philosophy been this week? You've been so enough of a foundation from defense, but also letting these guys go out and play fast.
It is. You just try to implement all the little techniques and fundamentals and help these guys just keep it as clear as possible so they can go as fast as possible and showcase all their God-given ability and the skill set that we all look for that makes a good football player.
So who's flashed out here to you?
You know, I'd be stating the obvious. You know, our D-line's pretty good. Sweat's kind of stood out. He's helped himself out. So a lot of guys who have had the courage to come out here and play this football game. A majority of these players have actually helped themselves and really helped their draft stock and really probably leaped a lot of guys that probably could have showed up when they didn't.
Rock Ya-Sim, Lonnie Johnson, a couple of long corners. One might even say they look like Seattle corners, as Daniel Jeremiah put it to me earlier today.
Yeah, there's these corners have some good length, man. It's they're a good group to work with. Really excited about the corners that we've got on our team. The North even has some good ones too. But excited about the group of guys we got. So, like I said, they've really helped themselves in their draft position. It's going to be exciting to work with these guys moving forward all the way to the draft.
So one more practice, then the game. What do you want to see from the players from here?
I want to see them play as fast as possible. That's it.
Appreciate it, Robert.
Thank you.
All right. So you heard somebody in the background of the video and said, did he really just say that? Did he really just say that? He said the guys that had courage to come out here and show off their skill set. All right, Tony. He literally had the nerve to say, for those guys who had the courage to come out here and show off their skill set. I'm not even going to touch on this. So, Anthony, what is your take on what Robert Saleh had to say about here? I'm not even going to go into base. You can take it from there.
Oh, that came like a day or so after Allen announced that that he dropped out of the Senior Bowl. Josh Allen, or a week or so. But man, I think I'm getting in over my head. But I want to say the Josh Allen shade is real. It's absolutely real, and it's real to anyone else who dropped out of the Senior Bowl. And I get the whole argument can be made that that guys want to protect their body, especially if you're a top 10 pick. You want to, you want to show that, okay, I'm trusting in myself to perform at a top 10 level, even if I don't show up to this bowl game. But I just think sometimes you can take that belief too far. And I don't know anyone off the top of my head, but when you see guys like Montez Sweat really improve their draft stock, even if it's just on a couple practices, that's the difference between being a top 15 pick and going in the second round. That's the difference between $5 million and $15 million. It's things like that. And I'm sure Allen will go in the top 10. He'll go in the top 15. But to see what we're seeing from guys like Deebo Samuel, from guys like Rock Ya-Sin, from guys like Montez Sweat, and Jonah and those kind of guys, it's amazing how much the Senior Bowl helps these guys' stock, and it helps show what these guys can be as players, as individuals. And what I take away from the Senior Bowl is how these guys perform in one-on-ones. And we said it earlier, Nick said it earlier, we think Shanahan has googly eyes all over Deebo Samuels, and he has every right to be like that, because look at what Deebo's doing. And Croc touched it in our chat earlier, is that when you're in South Carolina, the offense wasn't exactly, top 50 in FBS, and Samuels wasn't able to really unlock himself as a receiver. And you look at what he's able to do now against all these other guys, it's amazing. And the draft stock is rising. To say he's a top 5 wide receiver in this class is absolutely believable now. There's no question about it. And it shows that things like that you can improve that stock and you can show what you are, is huge in the Senior Bowl. And did it hurt Josh Allen? I don't know. But a lot of question marks can rise off of things like that. And even if it's just, a Senior Bowl game, it matters to a lot of coaches. And it especially matters to the guys coaching the team. And when you can go to the Senior Bowl and you give yourself the chance to interview with these teams more in depth, rather than the combine where teams get a certain amount of players they pick and they only get 5 to 10 minutes per player, it's huge when you're the Niners. And I think my bold take is that Josh Allen he just dropped himself out of the pick for the Niners. I honestly think that, because what Saleh said, he wants to see guys there. He wants guys to show up and play hard and play fast and show what they got. And Allen just lost that opportunity to show that for Saleh. And I think he just dropped himself out of the pick for the Niners. I really do. Does this open the door for Quinnen and Bosa? Absolutely now. Not that the door was already open, but now it's really there. Now I don't think that Allen is in the contention for the number 2 pick. I honestly don't even think he's going to be there if we trade back. I don't think we take him if he's there in the trade back scenario. I really don't. Saleh covets, for example, guys like Lang, guys like Rock Ya-Sin, and he covets guys who plays fast and plays hard. And I'm not saying Allen does that, but not being able to showcase yourself is huge on Saleh. And he really looks at these things. And You look how it is with Montez Sweat, and you look what he's showing in the Senior Bowl. Hell, he could be the guy we take in the trade back scenario. I've seen him mocked early in the year as the second round guy. All of a sudden, you see him in the Senior Bowl. Now he's being mocked as a first round guy. And you see what the Senior Bowl is doing for these guys, and it has a huge impact on this coaching staff, and especially on Saleh. And I think Josh Allen dropped himself out of a top 10 pick with the Niners. That's for sure. Could he be top 10? Sure. But it's not going to happen with the Niners at all. I don't see it now. I really don't.
All right. I agree with everything you just said, so I'm not even going to touch on that. But there was a comment in the comment section by Eric Furpo, said Josh Allen is the best pass rusher here because better than Bosa. He's Von Miller. And he's telling me he's arguing with people in here saying that they need to watch the tape. This guy had 17 sacks, yes. Stop watching highlight films. Watch the entire game, every single game, because Josh Allen really only had 2, possibly 3 really good games where he was a factor. Probably 9 to 10 of his sacks came unblocked, not even touched. Josh Allen is a great athlete. Don't get me wrong. I don't want anybody to think that I'm against Josh Allen and his talent ability. Josh Allen is not a true edge rusher. He is more of an outside linebacker who is schemed to make sacks on a quarterback. And you sit here and say, yes, 17 sacks in the SEC. Yes. But you can look at Jacoy Polite and look at the teams that they played, and it's damn near close. Go and watch Josh Allen's tape from the beginning of the year. And yes, I watched a lot of Nick Bosa because I'm an Ohio State fan. So I've watched Nick Bosa his whole collegiate career. But Josh Allen is not better than Nick Bosa. I'm sorry. Josh Allen is a top 5 rusher, defensive player in this draft. I'd say top 5. I'd probably go Bosa, Williams, Polite, Allen, Burns, Farrell. That's my top 6 right there. Probably in order. You can't sit here and tell me that Josh Allen is Von Miller type. You just can't. I don't know. What's your opinion on that, Tony? I don't want people to hate me, so I'm not going to continue to go on about it. But guys, if you're a Niners fan and you're looking at somebody, stop watching highlights. Highlights are going to hype you up because they're the best of their entire season or career. Watch an entire game. Look for flaws. Don't look at tape as a fan. Look at tape as a coach as to what's going to help your team going forward. Don't look at it as a fan. Look at it as, and really be biased. Say, oh shit, he really doesn't have that move, or he doesn't use his hands that well here, or he can work on his footwork, or he can do this, because nobody's perfect coming out of college. But Josh Allen is not better than Von Miller. He's not even compared to Von Miller.
Yeah, I like Josh Allen's speed, and I think that can maybe be comparable off the edge to Von Miller, but to have Von Miller's instincts on the D-line, whether it's timing the snap count, being able to come off the edge, being able to just bull rush and swim move and just fight these tackles like it's nothing. I mean, you look at Josh Allen and it's like, of course you can beat these guys with speed in college. I mean, again, we've seen so many first-round busts happen because they beat easy competition in college. And I'm not saying the SEC is easy, but when you're going up against left tackle prospects who aren't really fit for speed, because you can just outrun and just literally not even have bend to have to run around these tackles. And like Nick said, a lot of these sacks he got were unmatched. They were just from beating speed against slow tackles. They were from matching up against tight ends. They were from being schemed open on sacks. It happens in college, and it happens so easy. And that's another thing, too, is don't watch highlight videos and don't read box scores. Don't read box stats. Stats are just so overrated sometimes. They really are. If you can look at 17 sacks and just come away with, oh, he's Von Miller, I have to disagree with that entirely, because you have to look at the tape and see what's going on. And if the only thing you're seeing is speed, which is what I really see from Josh Allen, especially against slower tackles, and when you happen to get matched up against tight ends or even going unblocked, you're not exactly showing off a lot of skills. And Josh Allen is an amazing athlete, but to say he has the skill set to be a pure edge rusher is just wrong. I don't see it with Allen either.
Mike is telling me in the chat room, because, he's always got a troll, so he wants the link. He's telling me he's going to come in here and shut me down. What did I say wrong? You're telling me that Josh Allen is better or should be compared to Von Miller, or that he's better than Nick Bosa? Come on. If you're talking that nonsense, you're crazy too, and I'm going to tell you that as soon as you come on. So Niner by nature, be ready. I'm going to get Mike in here right now.
But yeah, like I said, it's one thing to be amazed by Allen, and I love the speed and I love what he has, but I don't see him as a scheme fit to begin with. I see him more as a 3-4 off-ball linebacker who could be like that Jadeveon Clowney type role. And maybe their fits in that scheme could be comparable, but to argue that they could, one, fit in the scheme and two, have the impact in the scheme, I don't see it at all. I mean, wait until he matches up against NFL tackles, real NFL tackles. And he didn't see that much in the SEC. And the SEC is great, but not every guy in there is a first-round tackle. Not every guy in there is a second-round tackle. I think he went up against Jonah Williams, and that might have been the only decent tackle he faced. So to have to go against that low of a level of competition looks really easy. And plus, when you're on a team like Kentucky, where not too much of it is all that impressive, it's easy to look phenomenal on that team. And just, I like the guy. I like his athleticism on the field, but is he a fit for this team? No. And would he fare well on this team? I honestly don't think so, unless he was being schemed open for sacks. That's it. Go ahead, Nick.
All right. Well, I sent Mike the link. So Mike says, I can't do a show tonight, but here's one thing I say, and he wants to jump in here. And that's all right. It's all good, because he can argue with me till he's blue in the face that Josh Allen should not be compared to Von Miller. I'm sorry. And Josh Allen should not be compared to being better than Nick Bosa as an edge rusher. Josh Allen is an outside linebacker. That's what he's played his whole collegiate career. He struggles more. Like I said, I don't want to get into this whole Josh Allen talk, but I had to touch on this. If Nick Bosa isn't there, I'm taking Quinnen Williams without a trade. If there's trade possibilities, I'm taking Quinnen Williams. Josh Allen is not, for this system, our outside linebackers don't blitz a lot as well either. How are you you're going to put Josh Allen in? I want a 3-down edge rusher. I want somebody like a Bosa, like somebody who is a true 3-down edge rusher, not just going to be on the field in nickel base or nickel or whatever. Situational things. We drafted Solomon Thomas, which everybody bitched and complained about. Sorry for the language. And we drafted him to play the big Leo, like the big end. How did that work out? We tried to play Solomon Thomas at a position that he played his whole college career. And where's he at now? He's probably going to be moved back inside. And when we get into the conversations later about what's going on, about that whole situation, we'll talk about that. But I'm waiting on Mike, and then we can move on. But Mike, I sent you the link. WhatsApp. Check WhatsApp.
Yeah, I wanna touch on what Nick said, guys. This team needs a pure 3-down edge rusher. We don't need any more situational guys. Eric Armstead is great, but he's for running situations. Cassius Marsh is great, but he's for passing situations. I'm tired of having these rotational guys on our D-line that just spot here, spot there, spot there. We don't need that. We need pure talent. And Nick Bosa and even Quinnen Williams are those two guys. They can be that, definitely. And if you don't have that pure 3-down talent, we see it with this Niners team. A lot of these sacks are either going to have to be schemed open, or a lot of it is just going to have to come from pure athleticism. And the D-line doesn't really have that. And adding Bosa or adding Williams would do that immensely. Adding Allen, I don't see it as much. I don't see it as much as the other two guys. What's up, Mike?
Hey, what's up, man?
All right, so first off, the conversation that you said you needed to shut me down on was Josh Allen is a Von Miller and is better than Nick Bosa.
I can make an argument that Josh Allen is better than Nick Bosa. Yeah, absolutely. So you're sitting there and you're talking about, oh, watch the film, don't just look at highlights, and he was unblocked and all that stuff. That's because he's more diverse than Nick Bosa. That's because the team used him in multiple. Here you go, wiping your face and everything. Stop me when I'm wrong, okay? The team used him. He dropped in coverage. He's covering tight ends. He's covering running backs. And he's coming in off of the edge and going after quarterbacks. You can't fault a guy because he's effective when they decide to blitz him. You can't fault a guy because he doesn't stunt and he's successful. Oh, how many of his sacks were untouched? It wasn't 10 of them. It was like 4 or 5.
No,
right?
It was literally like 9.
No, it literally was not 9. It literally was not 9. It was like 4 or 5. You can go back and watch them. You said you watched them all again, then you can go do it again.
Bro,
and even if,
he had 2 in his last game of the season were unblocked. 2 right there. So you're telling me his whole season he only had 3 more? No, there was 9.
Go back and watch. And because you can get around somebody quickly using your speed, that's not a knock on you, bro. The Niners would kill for somebody like that.
9-foot hole.
So then why wasn't other people doing it? Why was he the only one on his team doing it, Nick? It's a piss poor excuse. You're knocking a guy for being successful. You can't do that.
I'm knocking a guy for saying that he's Von Miller. He's not Von Miller.
I don't care about the Von Miller argument. I'm not going to sit here and compare.
He's not a better true pass rusher than Nick Bosa.
Wrong, because percentage-wise, his efficiency per pass rush, yes, he is more effective. He's effective at a 25% rate every time they decide to send him after the quarterback.
Positions.
Nick, do you want to? So what? I don't care. You're the one comparing them.
I didn't compare them. I'm comparing them. He is not a better pure edge rusher off the edge in a 3-4 defense as a defensive end better than Nick Bosa.
Why are you cursing? You're getting frustrated. You're getting frustrated. Why are you cursing, bro?
Because you don't listen.
I'm listening to everything you're saying, and I'm telling you that I can't change his position, Nick. I can tell you that when he runs off the edge, he's more effective percentage-wise than Nick Bosa is. I'm not making this up.
You're telling me that as a true defensive end, 3-4.
You can call the position whatever you want. You can call him an outside linebacker or a down 3-4.
You're telling me Josh Allen doesn't struggle with his hands in the dirt? Come on.
I don't care about that. The Niners can utilize.
That's what I'm telling you.
Nick,
he's not a better true pass rusher.
And now you're changing the argument. The Niners can utilize him and implement him in the offense and the defense however they choose to do it. I don't care if it's hands down in the dirt. I want somebody that when it's time to go get the quarterback, he's effective at doing it. And statistically speaking, he is more effective than Nick Bosa is. Yes, I can make this argument. It's not an argument. It's fact. It's already out there, bro. It's already out there. He's improved literally every single year. Every year, he's got more bend. He's got more flexibility because of his diversity in his pass. He's got better feet. He might not have the hips. He might not have that lean yet. But so what? He doesn't mean he can't develop it.
He has no power.
He doesn't have to have power. He's a former wide receiver. Let him add some weight. He's young. You don't have to have power. He's got more speed than Bosa, right?
Bro, for somebody who knocked the hell out of Solomon Thomas for drafting out of position, you're so funny of drafting. You want to draft somebody out of position and make them something that they're not right now.
I said nothing about drafting them. I said I'm here to argue against your argument. That's all I'm here for. I don't care who we draft. I'm just here because everyone is trying to sit around and hate on how Josh Allen plays, and they want to say, "Oh, well, he's coming off of this season, but this was unblocked and all that." You guys are literally knocking him for being effective. I've never in my life heard that before in my life.
Did you not ever hear me say that he is a talented player?
I heard all of that.
But he's not better than Nick Bosa.
You can't say that definitively. You can't say that, bro.
How can I not?
How can you?
You're telling me he had a better collegiate career than Nick Bosa.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you this question. Who's better, Nick Bosa or Quinnen Williams?
they're two different types of players.
Okay, that's the exact same shit you just told me about Josh Allen, Nick Bosa. So stop doing it then.
This
stop
guy,
doing it.
if you were in here, the conversation was on pass rushing.
Okay, and all three of them get after the quarterback, don't they?
All three of them. Nick Bosa is better than all three of them. Nick Bosa is the top pass rusher in this league, in this draft right now.
Wrong. He's the top defensive end in the draft, bro. There's more than one way to get after the quarterback. That's what I'm trying to tell you, Nick. All I'm trying to tell you is that
how many times do the Niners blitz from the outside linebacker position? How many times?
I don't know. I don't have a count in front of me.
We don't.
It doesn't matter as long as they're effective doing it, bro. Cassius Marsh got sacks. You don't think that Josh Allen can do it? If Cassius Marsh got 6 sacks, Josh Allen can't do it? Come on, bro. And who's going to be more effective, Josh Allen or Cassius Marsh? And we know Marsh ain't coming back. If Josh Allen came in next year and got 10 sacks, we'd be celebrating. We would be celebrating. He can do it from that position. That's my point, is that we're sitting here trying to say that he's not good or he's not better than someone else. Okay, as a defensive end, statistically, yeah, fine. But that doesn't mean anything. There's more than one way to do it. And he's more diverse than Nick Bosa.
All right, so let's draft a guy at number 2 who's going to be on the field 50% less of snaps than a Nick Bosa or a Quinnen Williams.
You don't know the percentage he's going to be out there because he's
a 3-4 outside linebacker, bro.
He can also cover. You have no idea how they're going to implement him into the defense, Nick.
Oh yeah, so let's waste the number 2 pick on when we need a edge rusher to cover somebody. How do we determine that we have to get an edge rusher? I thought the purpose was that the Niners need to get after the quarterback. Like, who's determined that it has to be edge? Bro, I'd be happy if we took Williams. What? I'd be happy if we took Williams. Like, it doesn't have to be edge. We want to get consistent pressure. That's what the 49ers are looking for. Josh Allen can do that. Nick Bosa can do that. Quinnen Williams can do that. Polite can do that. There's guys that can do it from different positions. Quinnen Williams and Josh Allen had one good year in college. One. So? How many players can you name that's come out that has one good year in college? Oh, a lot of players actually do that. How many players won as many awards as Josh Allen did this year? Dude, I don't give a shit about a reward. It's convenient what you give a shit about and what you don't give a shit about. Why would you care about awards? Because he earned them. That's why. Because it's a freaking badge. It's merit. So because you win a ton of awards and the Heisman Trophy, you're going to be an all-star pro in the NFL? No, but it attests to your work ethic and what you're doing on the field, bro. You can't just ignore it. Okay, so there's a lot of people out there with college degrees too, and are still stupid as shit. I have nothing to do with that. A college degree. That has nothing to do with that conversation either. But it does, because it's an award. It's a piece of paper. It has. Okay, and which one of those people are we drafting? I've had guys win Environment of the Year and never been in a house fire. What does that have to do with who we're drafting, and what does that have to do with getting after the quarterback? Water's wet. I don't know what you're talking about, bro. You're telling me that how many guys have all these awards? I'm telling you other ways. I'm talking about specifically Josh Allen. I'm talking about Josh Allen. I'm not pulling up college degrees. What are you talking about? I'm saying you're talking about awards, so I'm telling you that awards mean nothing. And I'm talking about awards that Josh Allen earned in college. Yes, I am talking about him. Okay. I'm staying on subject. My point is, you can't sit here and say that one player is better than someone else. We haven't seen them do anything in the NFL. One player is clearly more diverse than the other and brings more to the table than the other. You can't knock a person for being successful in their field and what the team asked them to do. Just like everyone was the entire coaching staff is all goo-goo eyes over Montez Sweat right now. And why is that? Because they feel like his college film doesn't match what he was able to show them when they got their hands on him. You have no idea what's going to happen if the Niners or another professional team got their hands on Josh Allen and decided to make him a pure edge rusher. And you're trying to make it seem say that he won't be successful. You can't say that. I didn't say that he wouldn't be successful. I never once said that Josh Allen would not be successful in the NFL. I said that he's not better than Nick Bosa. And you don't know that either. I do know that. I do know that. Okay. So you know for a fact that he's better than Nick Bosa. Bro, You know for a fact that no matter what happens, Josh Allen's going to have a worse career than Nick Bosa? I'm not talking about in the NFL. I'm talking about right now. He is not better than Nick Bosa. He put up better numbers than Nick Bosa. Yes, he did. Bro, come on. Yes. Pull up the stats. What do you want to say? What do you want to say, Nick? Pull him up. How is he not better? Oh my God, how is he?
I just told you he's more diverse. He got more sacks. He got more pressure on a per pass rush basis. What else do you want me to tell you?
God,
What else do you want me to tell you?
I don't want to hear you anymore. If you really think that somebody who plays in the SEC is better than somebody who had, because he has better numbers in the SEC than the Big Ten, and Nick Bosa has way more tools in the box and is way better than Josh Allen, then I don't know what to tell you.
You can't say that he has more tools in the
He
box.
definitely has way more tools in the box.
What do you mean, a spin move and a stiff arm? Is that what you're talking?
He's got power. He's got hands. He's got footwork. He's got move. He's got speed. He's just a all-around better player than Josh Allen. This Josh Allen hype is way too real, bro. He's a good athlete.
I'll give you
this. Good
this.
athlete, but the hype is way too real.
I'll give you this. Nick Bosa is a better defensive end than Josh Allen is currently.
He's a better defensive player.
He's a better defensive end than Josh Allen, but the better all-around defensive player is absolutely Josh Allen. The better all-around guy, the guy that can drop back in coverage and get after the quarterback. He's more diverse. He has more of a value. That's all I'm saying, dude.
I don't know. I definitely don't agree with you. I definitely don't agree with you.
I mean, but you're just saying that just to say it. Like, there's nothing that backs that up, though.
Bro, his whole college career backs it up. How long have you watched Josh Allen? You're an Ohio State fan, bro, and you're telling me
I know that.
But you've watched that much of Nick Bosa, and you're still trying to tell me Josh Allen's better.
I just gave you that Josh Allen is not as good as Nick Bosa as the defensive end position, purely. But what I'm saying is that I don't see a reason why you think Josh Allen can't get more sacks or more pressures on the quarterback than Nick Bosa can. That I just don't understand. I don't get that. No one can definitively say that. And so then what are you looking at?
When did I say that?
You didn't say that, but you're sitting here saying that.
Stop saying I said that because
you're trying to sit here and say that he is definitively worse than Nick Bosa. There's
Bro,
no ground
I'm
to say
telling
that.
you, college career wise, he is not a better player than fucking Nick Bosa is.
And what are you basing that off of?
Oh my God. Watching.
So you like one person's moves more than the other as opposed to a guy dropping back in coverage?
Because I'm not after a guy that drop back in coverage. We got fucking players that drop back in coverage.
Okay.
No, we don't.
Okay. Hold on, guys. Okay. Let me comment. As I'm listening to you guys, I'm trying to put something together. And I think the idea of it is that if you look at just like a pure pass rushing standpoint, I think you give it to Nick Bosa all the way. But if you look at the tangibles that Allen has, no matter the situation he's put in, I have to agree with Mike in the sense that Allen can do more than what Bosa can. But to compare the two, and when you really look at it, one is probably better in a 3-4 and one is most likely better in a 4-3. It's hard to put them together. It's hard to say, oh, Allen can do this better than Bosa, but look at the position Bosa's in versus Allen. Bosa is probably going to be mostly in the ground versus Allen, whereas he's standing more. And then you can look at Allen, who can cover guys more. He can come off the edge better than Bosa because he's in a standing position where he has speed. And you can see that. And maybe you don't see the power as much because Bosa is starting in the ground. But the tangibles that Allen has, I think they outweigh Bosa. But you put Bosa in a 4-3 scheme when he's almost always in the ground, and you look at him going one-on-one with the tackle, whereas it's not a running start, and it's just him going head-on with the guy. Bosa wins that. Bosa wins that by far. I don't think Allen has that on Bosa if you put him in the ground. But you put Allen standing or you put him off the ball and you let him rush against the tackle where the tackle has to come out, then that's on the tackle for not being able to beat him. That's where I will admit I was wrong on that part, that you can't knock Allen for that speed that he has over Bosa. And it's hard to argue against the two because Allen fits in a 3-4, Bosa fits in a 4-3. It goes both ways, guys. It goes both ways.
It does. And
you have to look at it like, okay, if you were to stand Bosa up, Allen would look a lot better. But if you were to put Allen in the dirt, I honestly think Bosa looks a lot better.
Yeah,
you know
and I said that.
So
I said
it
that.
goes both ways. Yeah, exactly.
And then the other thing is, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. Allen is effective in the positions he's put in, and he does more with what he's being given, whether it's going unblocked or whether it's having to cover someone. It's that he's doing that he can do a lot better than Bosa. But I think the argument can be made too is that we don't know what this team is looking for. And Mike said it best that this team is just looking for a guy that can get at the quarterback. But if we're looking for a guy to just purely get at the quarterback and not have to cover, not have to do anything else, not have to drop back like Marsh did, I think it's Bosa. I think that's where the argument is made. But the argument goes both ways because we don't know what this team is honestly looking for. All we know is that they're looking for a guy to go after the quarterback. And,
Right.
That's my point on the situation. Go ahead, Mike.
No, you're right. We don't have any idea of how they're going to want to deploy this person. That's what my point was. Is that you can use if you get a guy like Allen, and all of a sudden you can come up with exotic packages and all that stuff that made him successful in college. You can make him just a pure edge rusher. He doesn't have to put his hand in the ground just to do that. The Niners don't exclusively play a 4-3 front. We can't keep acting like we do. We just don't.
We don't. We play a 3-4.
And we play it 3-4
with 3-4 tendencies more. Yes.
Okay, so wouldn't that go better for Josh Allen then? Because he's an outside linebacker.
Then just say you want to draft a Sam linebacker because that's what Josh Allen is.
I want to draft somebody who can get after the quarterback consistently.
Okay, well, I'd rather have somebody. I'd rather have somebody on the field that is just constantly just doing one thing, rushing the passer instead of, oh, well, guess what? This guy's going out. We can dictate coverage. He's not going to be able to rush now. So I'm going to move and drop Josh Allen out. Now we lost that pass rusher and the ability to put pressure on the quarterback, and we're back to square one where Sam linebacker is covering, where we can have other guys on this team cover as a Sam linebacker.
But he wouldn't be a Sam if we're running 3-4 predominantly, like you just said. He'd be an outside linebacker then, which is great for him. Then he can get after the quarterback.
But it's not a 3-down edge rusher.
Doesn't matter. If you just said that we predominantly run 3-4, then that's even better for him.
I said 3-4. Yes. No.
Yes, that's even better for Josh Allen. Then, if we were running 4-3 more, then it would be better for Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa is a defensive end in a 4-3 scheme. Josh Allen's an outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme. That's your whole argument against him.
Linebacker in a 4-3 scheme.
Okay.
But
my point still is we can't just knock
it. You had them both mixed up right there.
I didn't have them mixed up at all. Okay. You can't just knock a guy just because you like one guy more than the other. None of us can definitively say.
I'm not. You keep saying knock the guy. I said he's a hell of an athlete.
I'm not talking
what we need in San Francisco.
Nick, I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about you. I'm speaking in very general terms, dude. Stop feeling attacked. Relax. I'm saying that people can't just sit here and say that one guy is definitively going to be better than the other. None of us know. But what I do know is one guy can do more on the football field than the other guy can. That's it. They both have their strengths. They both have their weaknesses, and we'll see what happens. But I can sit here for the sake of arguing and go toe-to-toe with anybody who wants to say Nick Bosa is better than Josh Allen. That's all I wanted to do.
I know that's all you wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm ejecting you now.
Of course.
I'm just joking. But you got to – the thing that scares me, and I've said this over and over – oh, he bounced out? Really?
Keep going.
All right, so anyway, the thing that bothers me is the whole Solomon Thomas pick. We picked somebody to play a certain position and thought that we could change him to be something else. If the Niners draft Josh Allen, that's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to make him a pure edge rusher. You've heard Kyle and John both say we need an edge rusher. So if they're drafting Josh Allen, he's not playing Sam linebacker. They are going to teach him how to be more on his hands in the dirt than he is up. And he's going to be rushing the passer from the edge. I don't want to do experiments. I'd rather take somebody who's going to be legitimately, who's played in their collegiate career, a defensive end position, not an outside linebacker position.
Yeah, I have to agree with that also, because it's like I said, I like Bosa as a pure pass rusher. I like Allen in the sense that he can do other things, but in the moment, we don't know what this team wants. But also me, I don't want a guy to do other things. I just want a guy to get at the pass rusher. And like Nick said, we've seen it with Solomon Thomas. He didn't work out at end, so we kick him inside, and now he works better out at inside. And okay, is that a failed pick? We don't know yet. It's trending that way, but with the idea of him on the inside, it's working out. And it's just, I don't want to take the chance on someone like Allen where we convert him into something that maybe he's not used to, and it doesn't pan out the way we want it to. Whereas we get someone like Bosa who's just purely hand in the dirt. I'm going after that tackle. That's what I want. And we've seen it with guys like DJ Reed, where he came out as a slot corner. He came out as a pure corner, and they move him to slot, and then they move him to safety. And they did the same thing with Tavarius Moore, and Tavarius Moore was deemed as possibly the best free safety prospect in last year's class. And we tried to move him to cornerback, and look how that's worked out. It didn't work out the way we wanted it to. And granted, he's a rookie, but I would have really liked to see him more in a free safety role, not a cornerback role. And that's the fear that I think I see Nick having, and I kind of do too, is having Allen do more than one thing, even though he's good at it, comes with a little risk, because being able to do more than one thing looks good in college, but will that translate into the NFL? And having to see him, if we do take him, for example, seeing him match up against Todd Gurley, or seeing him have to match up against David Johnson, or hell, even any of the Seattle backs, it's tough to think about. And having to work around that would be pretty tough, in my opinion. And just being able to take Bosa, just, again, having a pure edge rusher, just go after that guy and just have one job. I want an edge guy to have one job, and that's just go after the quarterback. It's nice to have a guy like Allen who would be able to do multiple things, but I want guys who are purely one job and one job only, like passing the rusher, or passing the quarterback, or having to cover the top end of the field, the deep third, whatever it is, like more. And moving around those guys, it could be costly for them. And we've seen it with Jimmy Ward. Look how much he moved around, and look how much that hurt him, in my opinion. That flexibility is nice, but that flexibility only got Ward so far. And the injuries came, and then all of a sudden Ward wasn't able to prove himself, and look where he is now. So I'm not saying Allen is injury prone, but again, just having that fear of taking another guy to do more than one thing that he maybe hasn't done as well or doesn't do as often, there's every reason to have fear. And Allen can do more than one thing as well, but I just want a guy to do one thing, and that's just pass the rusher, man. We need sacks. This team just needs sacks. Whether it comes from Quinnen or Bosa, whoever the hell it is, we need guys to go after the quarterback. And, that's my piece, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. They definitely need sacks. And like I said, I just think that this regime, man, just drafts, like we were just having a conversation today. I think it was Stort that brought it up. Why does this team draft players that are safeties to be corners, or corners to be safeties, like vice versa?
I hate it. I hate it.
But I'm just saying, like, this team, it seems like when we draft, we're drafting these players to play other positions. Like, I just don't understand it, and it scares me. It really does. Like, if we don't hit on edge, and I really think that, I think this is all going to be a mute conversation, because I really don't think, I think we're going to hit edge in free agency. And a lower tier guy probably, like, look, if we have to take, if we trade down and we take Josh Allen at number 7, I'm fine with it. I'm just not wasting a number 2 pick on him if we get a good edge guy in free agency. So, C. McCarver Jr., what's going on, man? I see you're in the chat now. 49 Bloodline, Salvador, Mike now says he thinks the 49ers take Boza. Yeah, Mike had to jump out of here. I messaged him on why. Oh, had to bring the dog in. He was shivering. This guy. So anyway, all right, let's move on because I mean I don't want to talk about that anymore. Let's get to what John Lynch had to say when he joined NFL Network. Basically about what's going on around the team. See if I can get my let me mute this real quick.
To see everyone up close, John Lynch, how's your week gone?
It's been fantastic. Yeah. I'm telling everyone I don't like how we got here and why we're here. We didn't win enough games, but it really is a great opportunity. And I tell you, the access you get to these players, the opportunity, what's great about here, we're playing football. That's what these guys do. The combine's great and we get valuable information, but the ability to go into the meeting and see how these guys take in information and then how they apply it to the field. And then they, some of them can do it for one day, but how are they going to act the next day? And, you also have some control. If you want to see something about a player, you have the control. Your staff can say, let's put them in that situation. So there's so much that you can gain. It really has been a great week. And
during the course of a week like this, John, can you figure out who the leaders are in the individual position groups? Do those guys kind of emerge as the week goes along?
Yeah, you can. And the same can be said for the entire team. Certain guys just have that ability to bring everybody to them. And I think that behind the scenes look really helps in that respect, kind of see who the alphas are in each room and who's just chirp.
All right. So you hear him say there basically, and he's just kind of, I'm going to skip through and we'll touch little by little, but basically says, obviously he doesn't like being where he's at because obviously, the position that you're in puts you as coaching there. But he also did speak of the benefits that if you want to see a guy do certain things, you have that opportunity. You have that ability to see if that player can do it. He also touched on saying a player did it today, but does that mean they can do the same thing tomorrow? Those type of things. So we all know that this definitely gives you a better opportunity for the draft if you're in this position of coaching these guys. What was your take on what he said right there? And what are your thoughts on it?
Man, like he's right. It sucks to be in this position, but the benefits are there. And I touched on it a little bit earlier, but you don't get the chance to interact with these guys when the combine comes. You don't get the chance to talk to them after the Senior Bowl, I believe. So being able to interact with these guys as much as possible is huge for this coaching staff. It's huge for Shanny and Saleh and Lynch. And like he said, too, if guys can do one, we want to see how guys can do one thing. And if they can do it the next day, having the whole week to practice and work that out with them, especially if those guys are on their draft board, is absolutely huge. I think that's what Lynch is alluding to, is that when he says that, he wants to see, okay, these are the guys we have pinned on our board. How are they performing, and are they doing it consistently throughout this week? And that's what he's looking for. And that's what the Senior Bowl is, most helpful about. The last time we coached the Senior Bowl, we took Patrick Willis and Joe Staley. That whole draft class was insanely good. We also took Deshaun Goldson. So you look at what the Senior Bowl brings to this Niners staff, it brings a lot of hope and optimism, and it also brings a lot of questions to the front, and it brings those questions with answers. And giving Lynch and this coaching staff the ability to see what they have in front of them and being able to assess and diagnose how the whole thing is going about, especially with the process, is huge. And they need to take advantage of every minute and every opportunity they have to coach these guys, because they're not going to be able to interact with every single guy again come combine day and come interviews. So it's really key for them to nail what they have in front of them and for them to go about this in a successful manner, because hell, this is year 3 of a rebuild. Now is the time to really start competing. And now is the time to show us, hey, we mean business. And it starts with the draft, and it starts with being able to analyze who they have in front of them and Are they the right scheme fit? Are they good for this offense? Are they good for this defense? Will they fit in the locker room? It's all these things that show Lynch and Shanahan and the staff how important it is to, just handle these guys and go about it. And they got to nail it. And Lynch said it best. Will one guy be able to perform the same the next day? And how are they going to go about it? And, the Senior Bowl gives them a lot of answers, and they're going to take a lot from it. That's for sure. They need to. They absolutely need to.
Yeah, in which they should. Like you said, it gives those added benefits. Being able to see more players for longer periods of times. You see how they act, not just in the huddle or on the game field, but, at lunches and, just basically around. So the 15 minutes that you get to interview these guys normally, you obviously get a lot more time with them. And while we're talking about the players right now, I think it's a good option too. Like they switched today. The South coaches took the North team for an hour, and the North coaches took the South team for an hour. And they got to basically talk to these guys and see how they were. And the question in there, I didn't play it that long, but there was a question in there to John Lynch. Do you have guys evaluating guys on the North team as well? And he says, we got eyes all over the place. So it's not just they're evaluating the guys on the South team, they're evaluating guys on the North team. And I'm sure the South team is being evaluated by the North team as well, their coaches and scouts and stuff like that. But don't forget, the Niners have all their scouts there with them. It's not just like the coaching staff and that's it. The entire staff is there, coaching staff, general manager, scouting guys, quarterback coaches, not technically a quarterback coach, but whoever's coaching the quarterbacks right now. So, yes, I think it's definitely a big benefit. Here's the next question that was asked to John Lynch.
Words in your mouth. You're not going quarterback at 2. So it gives you a little time and some honesty here. What do you think of this quarterback group?
I've enjoyed watching him. I really have. Our guy who, he darn near blew up my eardrum when I first put these things on. Minshew. That kid has some legitimate swag. I mean, he's a guy who's come in here. I love it. He's calling our coaches last week, telling them the mistakes in the playbook. So I mean, he was on it too. And he's a guy that just has something to him. There's certain guys, and I'm doing everyone else's work for him, so I got to shut up. But
he said, and that's basically what I was talking about with players. Obviously we're not in the draft for a quarterback right now, but he's talking about, he says Minshew has a lot of swag. Players have reached out. There was reports that players have reached out to Nick Mullins just to get a head start on Kyle Shanahan type of playbook and things like this. And this is why I think it's big to go to these things. Like not only are you putting your talent out there more than a combine or, a 3-drill, a 3-cone drill or, how high you can jump. Because, I mean, the combine, yes, the combine's a combine. It's measurements and skill set. But when you're on the field, it's a whole different ball game. And we talked about this. And not only are you just advertising yourself basically, but it's evaluation for you to evaluate coaches as well. Because these players are getting to know these coaches and stuff. It makes them feel more comfortable. It makes them feel. So let's say Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch draft somebody that they're playing right now. Let's say Sweat, for instance. And Sweat really lashed on to John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan and knows exactly what they're like stepping into the building right after draft day. Do you think that player is going to feel more comfortable than he was not being with them all this time in the Senior Bowl and then just being drafted? You're going to have those nerves. You know what I mean? As a young player, you're going to have those nerves going into a big facility, first time in the NFL, being drafted. It's a long week. Days drag out, things drag out. But that comfortability level, if you're playing right for them right now and they draft you, is probably 50% higher. You already know the front office. You've already met the scouts. You've already met everybody. And that can help you along the way. In my eyes, in my opinion. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you hit it. You hit it best. I mean, being able to analyze these guys and see them front hand is more than helpful for this team. Being able to see guys like Gardner Minshew, step up and show that, hey, I may not be the best quarterback prospect, but I am sure as hell the man over these guys. That, as an example, helps you see who the leaders are on your team. That absolutely goes into the draft process when you're looking at guys like Minshew for whatever reason, or looking at guys like Sweat, or I think we have O'Shane Zimenez too. Those kind of edge guys, who you can look at and say, okay, we're not just looking for the tangibles, but we're looking for the leadership. We're working for the work ethic. We're looking for the determination. We're looking for the confidence, the motivation. It goes on and on that you look for in these players. And hearing that from John Lynch just really tells you what they're really looking for in these guys, whether it's the ability to play or whether it's the ability to lead. And I would honestly say this defense needs a lot of leaders. You can have veteran leadership, but you can have straight leaders. Look at like what Patrick Willis did for our team. And I know Willis was just so amazing, but you look at what Willis did, you look at what Navarro Bowman did, you look at what Justin Smith did, old cowboy. You look at what Aldon Smith did, you look at what Whitner and Golson did. They were all leaders. They were all leaders in that locker room in some way. And being able to see who the leaders are on the South team, and hopefully getting the chance to see who they are on the North team, goes into the draft process and goes into what this team needs and what this team is honestly looking for. And being able to get that experience with these guys firsthand is huge. Does it mean we're going to draft someone on the South team or the North team? Maybe, maybe not. You never know. Maybe we don't. Maybe it's just saying, okay, obviously these are none of the guys we're looking for. We still have our eyes on Quinnen. We still have our eyes on Bosa. Maybe we have our eyes on Allen. It's those kind of things that we need to also think about and say, hey, these guys are performing really, really well, but it's not what we're looking for. We're not looking for these guys. We were given a roster. It was nice of us to be able to analyze and coach these guys up, but maybe none of them happen to fit our team needs, or maybe none of them will be there when we pick, or maybe they'll be there when we pick, but we don't want them. There's a lot of it that goes into this process. And overall, though, being able for Saleh and Lynch and Shanny to experience these guys firsthand is more than helpful. And just being able to see the leadership that the South brings and what the North might bring is huge. Overall, it's a lot to take away from when Lynch is talking about Minshew like that, because hell, it could mean over the top here, but it could mean that Mullins is on the block. It could mean that Beathard is on the block. You never know. There's a lot to take away when your GM is saying things like that. So, overall, it's big. It's big for Lynch and Shanahan to be able to analyze these guys and say, hey, this is our team need. This isn't our team need. Let's see what we got in the staff, and maybe we like him, maybe we don't,
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with all of that. But yeah, so let's move on. So we both agree that, no matter how you look at it, with our full staff there coaching the team, no matter how we got there or why we got there, or whatever, it definitely benefits us going forward in the draft. It definitely benefits Oakland going into the draft, because of the facts that their coaches are there. They're seeing these teams. So whether it's John Gruden or Kyle Shanahan, it's definitely benefiting these teams, the Niners and Oakland. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to watch this game and see what we see. I really wish Josh Allen would have went, and I'm sure that, like we talked about with Robert Saleh saying, even John Lynch talked about it, being able to come here and showcase yourself and things like that. But let's go on to, since we're talking about defense right now, and let's go on to Chris Kocurek. Kocurek is how you say it. I had to look up the pronunciation because I was saying Kocurek and it's actually Kocurek. It's like a sir. And Mike's blowing me up on WhatsApp with Jonathan Allen stats, and I don't even really care. But anyway, what are your thoughts? It came out and said that the other day, and it came out and said that Chris and them aren't at the Senior Bowl, but their first, I guess you could say, first job at hand is to watch all the players on the line, or like on the defense, basically, defensive line, and be as completely as biased as you possibly can and give feedback on each player's. Mainly Solomon Thomas. What to do with him, where he should be playing, how he's been playing, give a good grade, such and such. Do you think that benefits us, or do you think that puts us backwards?
Man, you can look at it both ways, but in all honesty, guys, I think that puts us backwards. I think that takes us like 5 or 10 steps back, because now all of a sudden you have coach telling you the truth about these guys. Like, say he says Marsh doesn't fit. Say he says Armstead doesn't fit. Blair doesn't fit. Day doesn't fit. Thomas doesn't fit. And it's like, if that's the case, then shit, we need to go about it in a way that we need to re-add the right pieces. We need to re-add the right guys. We need to make the scheme work, because Kocurek, he is working with the D-line only, and he's telling Saleh, hey, I see the scheme you're running. We're all going to come together and work on it along with Joe Woods. But I don't think these guys are going to work in the way that you want them to, especially with the plays that you're calling. And it's tough to look at it this way, but it's like, if Kocurek doesn't really like a lot of the guys he's working with, even though he's brought success to guys like Zig Ansah and, Dominican Sue when he was in Miami, and Cameron Wake and all those guys, it's huge, because if he doesn't like what he sees in Solomon Thomas, and maybe he sees it in a way that the scheme doesn't work with him and the plays don't work with him, his spot isn't safe on the roster. I'm sorry. No matter how much money he's earned or owed and what we can do with him, the spot's not safe. Same thing goes for Armstead and all the guys I named. And I say it's 10 steps back, because if it doesn't work out with him, then we got to start all over with the D-line. D-line becomes a whole new project. But it could be a step forward in the sense that he does like the guys he's working with, and he wants to see what he can get out of them. Then you have a lot of positive steps going forward. But in my opinion, I just think it steps back. I really do. Because all of a sudden now you have the guys that Robert Saleh handpicked for his D-line, and then all of a sudden you have another guy coming in and saying, I don't like these guys on your defensive line. Let's add someone else. Maybe it becomes some kind of coaching drama, and then all of a sudden you have this whole ordeal. So I don't know if I like it, Nick. I really don't know if I do. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to go with. I want to see him make Solomon Thomas work out, and I want to see him make the other guys work out in the best way possible. But if it doesn't, then it's almost like I feel you're resetting the whole thing again, That's kind of how I take it.
I agree, because then that's going to put you to, if it works, it's genius. If it doesn't work, it was the stupidest call in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like play calling. The other thing that I don't really want to rebuttal on that, because you pretty much said what I was going to say, so I don't want to waste any more time on that. But the other thing that I found interesting was that Robert Saleh said, I think it was Robert Saleh, or it might have been Shanahan, but basically said that, Robert Saleh is basically open to allowing different parts of schemes implemented into this defense. It's not just going to be so much zone or, cover 2 or whatever. It's not just going to be mainly what it is now, that they're going to implement different types of schemes. It's not just going to be that Seattle type scheme. It's going to, there's going to be more blitz packages and this and that. I like this for the fact because it sounds good. But you said something in your other point that you were making was, I like it for the fact that it sounds good, and it's because it's something we need to do. But Saleh giving away power of the defense to other defensive coaches, and then things not going right, and Saleh starts getting the heat, it's going to start causing coaching problems amongst coaches on the defensive side of the ball. Now, do I think that the Niners are better than that? Yes. But I can't say that these coaches are because I don't know much about these coaches with coaching with people. If you were to tell me that our same defensive line coach, everything stayed the same, and this were to happen, I'd probably feel more comfortable. But with new coaches coming in that haven't been in this regime and don't hold the same type of we don't really know if they hold the same standard that the other coaches did or working under Kyle Shanahan or Robert Saleh, I think it gets a little more scary. Do I like the idea of changing our defense up? Yes, because I think we need it. I don't think we need to I think we need to blitz more. We need to play, man more. We need to play not so much zone, basically. But it scares me. It really scares me. And I just don't, as much as I want it to happen, I'm not sure how I feel about it actually happening right yet. And I guess I have to see, because sometimes you have to mess up to get better.
Yeah, and that's one quick thing I want to bring up too, is that you can bring in the most experienced and veteran, hardened coaches into a team, but when you're bringing them into a new team, whether it's the same role or a different role, they're rookies on that team too. They're learning about the head coach. They're learning about the rest of the coaching staff also. And you hit it. If the ideals of Kocurek and Woods don't mesh with Saleh, then you have this whole thing that's within the organization that all of a sudden Shanahan has on his hands. And, how do you go about it? You're tired of seeing coaches get let go, and you're tired of seeing constant change, and you want things to work out. But if it doesn't work out and all of a sudden Kocurek is gone and Woods is gone, and now Saleh is really on the hot seat, how are you going to go about it? Do you go back to what it was originally? Do you bring in another new defensive specialist for the D-line or the secondary? So, the door is open for success, but I think the door is even more open for something not working out. And I trust the front office totally, but at some point, if something bad happens or if something doesn't work out within the coaching, the questions will come, and not the fear, but, that kind of scared mentality is really going to rise, and it's going to put a lot of pressure on the organization as a whole,
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you. I think the experience between Kocurek and Woods is going to help a little bit, but I also think that it's going to intimidate Saleh. And sometimes intimidation is good. Iron sharpens iron, in those terms. I think that there's two things, obviously, that can happen here. One, Robert Saleh can become that much better of a defensive coordinator. Or two, they just straight up Aqib Talib and I'll just say Marcus Peters and somebody else fighting. It could be that way. But like you said, I trust the front office, and I think the front office really has this place in check. And I think before they were hired, things were set in stone and set up. And I believe that these guys have experience and they're not young guys, so I don't think they'll probably try to step on toes. But I remember talking about the Kocurek hire in here, I think it was, and people were saying, "Oh, it's Robert Saleh's replacement. It's Robert Saleh's this. It's Robert Saleh's that." In with Robert Woods and Kocurek, both of them saying that. I don't think that's the case, and I think that they're gonna. If they can all work together, I think it's going to be better for the Niners. If there's even one bad apple in there, we're definitely going to be in trouble. And
we've seen that happen, when Jim Harbaugh was here too.
Oh, yeah.
Jim Harbaugh was the bad apple, but as soon as the disagreement came between coach and GM, all hell broke loose, Then all of a sudden, everyone started to retire, and then everyone wanted to leave, and then all of a sudden, the Niners were just an unattractive place. Next thing you know, Harbaugh is out of a job, Baalke is on the hot seat, then he gets let go. Then we go through a whole coaching cycle, and then, we finally spun the wheel successfully, but look what we had to go through. And I understand this is just on the defensive side of the ball, but, it all starts with one domino falling over, and then the whole thing falls. So it's there, the fear is there, but like you said, I don't think there would be any toe stepping. I don't think coaches will really be trying to overtake one another unless the disagreements are there. It's Salah's defense at the end of the day. He's going to make the calls, but it's a matter of how much is he going to trust the other two guys next to him,
And we may not even see it till later in the season. They may implement their stuff and just Robert Saleh's calling the plays. And is there a possibility that one of these guys are the replacement? It easily could be. But I think this locker room and this staff and this front office is too tight-knit to allow that one domino fall. And I really do believe that. I really do believe in our front office, and I really do believe in our coaching staff and our players to not allow that one domino to fall, to create the explosion of a team. But then again, I would have never thought that would have happened with Jim Harbaugh and winning and doing all this other stuff. So it's possible. It is something really, really possible. Not only will it destroy the coaches, but I think it will destroy the locker room. Because if your coaches are fighting amongst each other and the players feel that tension or things like that, it's just gonna blow up in your face. So let's just pray for good. And I think that it will all work out. I truly do. I think that the two guys that we added are two great additions to this team. I think they'll help Robert Saleh. I don't think that they're his replacement just yet. But I do think that it's been better for the team. So I guess that's pretty much it for tonight. I mean, we've been on here for about 2 hours. We even had Mike jump in and troll a little bit.
Shout out to Tony too for being in the beginning also.
Yeah, and Tony's phone died. He sent me a message. He's like, "Oh, I'm getting changed." So phone died. But guys, as always, man, it's always fun talking Niners. Thanks for the callers tonight. We will be dropping a podcast with all those clips, what was said on Sirius XM and stuff like that this week. But you got a little bit of a taste of that. Yes, Mike, I know. I'm just messing with you. I just opened the chat again and I seen you in there. So he said, liven it up, not troll. All right. Well, we were live enough.
Definitely did.
He definitely trolled and livened it up because people like me and Mike going at it, believe it or not. That's why people watch this show. But me and Mike have a love-hate relationship. And man, I hate that I love him. So that's pretty much it. But anyway, Anthony, it's always fun, man, and always fun. And I appreciate you joining me. And
I'm glad I got to step in the middle of that.
Yeah,
Hold on.
Yeah, well, I was waiting for you to do it, but guys, if you don't already, make sure you follow us on all social media avenues. Make sure you go to our SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Play, wherever you listen to your podcasts at. Just pull it up on a podcast app. Talk 49ers with Nothing But Niners. Make sure you leave us a rating and give us a listen. Give us a like on there as well. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Nothing But Niners, as well as Snapchat and Twitter, Nothing But 9ERS. And check us out on nothingbutniners.com. Guys, the off season is upon us, but we do not stop going. So I think that's one thing that separates us from a lot of other avenues. We will be looking for 3 to 4 more writers this upcoming year, as well as some graphics guys who have experience with Photoshop and stuff like that. So if you are interested, send me a message. You can email me, nick@nothingbutniners.com. If you follow me on Twitter, it's 49er Faithful 365, and I'll let Anthony give his Twitter handle out and stuff in a second. Looking for female writers, looking for male writers, anything that you want to do and help out NBN. We're going to be expanding some more this year. So if you're interested, just let us know. It is not a paid position. It's just all out of love and bringing stuff. So I'm going to try to do another show sometime, either maybe tomorrow night or Sunday after the Senior Bowl game. Probably try to do a show, and we can have some call-ins and stuff like that as well. I'm going to start doing some more shows weekly throughout the night. Maybe just bring on some fans and talk football. So nothing but Niners, as always. But Anthony, go ahead and give everybody your Twitter handle and where they can follow you at and stuff.
All right, guys. So all the Niners stuff I do is primarily on Twitter, and my handle will be changing eventually to something more NB90. But for now, my Twitter ad is Anthony Perry, Perry 925, all together. Anthony Perry 925. You'll see a lot of Niners stuff. I'm always talking about it. I always want to talk about it with you guys. You know, I don't care if you guys have the most boldest things to say about the Niners to me or any of us. Tell us, because we want to talk to you. We want to interact with you guys. You guys are the fans. You know, every video we do, every article we put out is for you guys, and we want to give you guys, you know, the best, and we want to be the best for you guys. So again, give me a follow, give Nick a follow, give all of us a follow, drop a like, drop a rating, leave a comment, leave your questions. We always want to answer questions in our mailbags. I know we're definitely going to be doing that more. So please, guys, leave us everything. Like Nick said, we're looking for writers. We're looking for graphic designers. It doesn't matter if you've ridden your whole life, if you've never ridden before. You know, tell us why you love the Niners. And, you know, we want to hear from guys. We want to bring guys on. We want to bring girls on. You know, we want to bring all you guys. So give it to Nick. Give it to all of us. You know, we're here for you guys. And, again, give me a follow. Drop everything, you know, and be prepared for this offseason, because just like tonight, there's going to be lots of heated debates throughout the weeks just about the offseason. You know, the regular season isn't even here yet, and it's already been so early. So, you know, we're here for you guys. We want to give you guys the best. So please, you know, keep listening, tune in. We're always here.
Yeah, guys, like Anthony said, man, hit me up if you're interested in writing. It doesn't matter if you've written your whole life. It doesn't matter. If you think that you can do it and you enjoy this team and you love writing about, you know, talking football, send me over a message, man. Nick at nothingbutniners.com. And I appreciate all of you guys, man, as always. So I'm going to sign out like I always do, since Mike's not here and we can't double team it. But guys, make sure you like us and subscribe to all of our avenues. Nothingbutniners.com. You can find all those there. And above all else, stay faithful. We out of here.